on foreign policy, what the BBC and a lot of these newspapers have just done is just follow the foreign policy lead of the British establishment. And, you know, which is basically who are the official enemies of Britain and who are the official allies.
Yes.
So when it comes to the official enemies, then they will have no problem in talking about human rights violations, often to justify military intervention. But if it's our allies, then they will airbrush those, often even far worse, human rights abuses. You know, Israel obviously is a striking example, but then you look at the horrors unleashed by the Saudi coalition in Yemen. You know, these are horrors and injustices which aren't talked about because those are our allies, and what matters is you know, building up a case against the official enemies.
Yeah.
And I just think that's the problem, is the for so long the mainstream media actually has, you know, it's not like there isn't good reporting out there, including in some of these newspapers, but overall that's the systemic problem with it. And actually there are so many problems with social media, but equally a lot of what we actually know about, for example, in terms of Gaza, is because of social media. It's because Palestinian journalists have used social media, you know, to get across the horrors being unleashed by the Israeli state. It's this, perversely, IDF soldiers posting their war crimes on TikTok, but a lot of those wouldn't have been reported by our media outlets. So it's no surprise that actually, if you look at the US, the moral panic about TikTok was often about younger people getting access to information about what was actually happening to the Palestinian people, which they weren't getting from cable news. And a lot of older people who are far more sympathetic to Israel were just being fed basically a line which was very sympathetic to Israeli narratives, uncritical and unchallenging of it, whereas people could actually see the horrors and the atrocities being inflicted and the hatred and the genocidal rhetoric of Israeli leaders and officials, which made clear from the start what they were going to do, which most media outlets simply just ignored and didn't frame their coverage around.